Deepwoken loses. The US Army does not lose to the Deepwoken verse. A while back, I made a 2-video series detailing why I believe the United States of America's armed forces would easily dominate the Deepwoken verse, and to this day, I still get people in my Twitch chat disagreeing with me, and I still get people commenting on those videos disagreeing. So in today's video, I will be finishing the series and debunking all of your claims to prove to you that the US Army does in fact beat the verse of Deepwoken. Anyway, let's get straight into it. Now, I've already discussed a lot of things in those past 2 videos, so if you haven't watched them, they're from about 4 months ago, I'd recommend watching them before watching this, so that way you don't accidentally, comment on a claim that I've already covered. So I've already discussed how powerful our guns are in comparison to the guns in Deepwoken's verse, so please go watch those last 2 on this topic before trying to make a new claim. And I've already covered every boss which gets slammed by the US Army, including the Heart of Enmity. But, I gotta cover some of that again later because someone decided to make a dumb argument against it. So, first of all, to the dumb power scalers who genuinely think Maestro Evangard can 1v3 million the US Army, first of all, just no. He himself doesn't kill the Lord Regent because he knows he can't beat the armed forces of the Central Authority, and they don't have an army of 3 million. And even if they did, my guns are better than their armor. Now, I've also heard the argument that Deepwoken player characters would solo the US Army. Yeah, man, your player character isn't beating 3 million mud skippers, so I think the US Army is probably beating you. And then I've heard some really dumb takes about people saying the Deepwoken player character can move at the speed of light. Okay, I have heard people say that Goku, unironically, loses to, the Deepwoken player character, because the Deepwoken player character can move at the speed of light because you dodge Golem laser. No. The Golem laser is a projectile. It's not literally a laser, and even if it was, you don't dodge the laser based on reaction, you dodge it based on the cue of it charging up. That's like saying you can move at light speed in real life because you dodged a bullet when someone pointed a gun at you. It's not like that. And also, Golem lasers have travel time, so it's not an actual laser. And then people use stuff like, oh, Thunder Call hits you with lightning, and you could dodge the lightning. Once again, you don't dodge the lightning, you dodge preemptively. You don't see a Thunder Call user use a mantra and dodge it as it's happening. You dodge it during their windup, or you know it's gonna happen and you know the timing, and that's when you dodge it. You dodge preemptively. And at that, Thunder Call is not actual lightning, and it's also much weaker than actual lightning, so your points are still dumb. And about the lasers and stuff like that, oh, well, I can parry it, so I can absorb that much force. That's the song doing that for you. Your body can't do that. Next up, people kept telling me, oh, the drowned god Yunshul would wake up and kill everyone and drown the world and beat the US Army. Literally, no. If you don't know about the lore, this couldn't happen. Yunshul only woke up in response to the abuse of the song during the Cataclysm, and the US Army wouldn't be using the song, they'd be using technology. And with that in mind, Yunshul wouldn't wake up and wouldn't trigger any drownings or kill people, because he is powerless to the affairs of the United States Army. Because they can't use the song, which is in their advantage because that means they can't abuse it and therefore can't trigger a drowning. Yunshul would not wake up. And then there's people who kept saying that chemical weapons would be easily counterable due to the parasol hat drop that it has that makes you immune to toxins that you breathe in. Okay, cool, yeah, the cyclosarin won't paralyze you before it kills you because you breathed it in, but what about your skin? Yeah, you can avoid the nerve agents and poisonous gases like hydrogen sulfide entering your lungs, but if it touches your skin, you're getting infection-ridden 3rd-degree chemical burns and dying from the blistering pain that sends you into shock because you thought you could avoid chem gases with just a mask. They absorb into your skin too. Survivalist also wouldn't work because Survivalist only works against naturalistic phenomena within the Deepwoken worlds. Hydrogen sulfide is not naturalistic. And before you say, they won't use the gas because of the soldiers there, because they don't want it, friendly fire. More than likely, they'll already be equipped properly to deal with the gas. And even if they aren't, a lot of you just don't understand this. I don't think an army would mind sacrificing soldiers to kill a major threat, your player character included. And then I told this to someone, they're like, oh, I just take the hazmat gear from one of the soldiers. You mean the soldier you need to kill or subdue with your weapon? Your melee weapon, which will undoubtedly leave the hazmat suit or gear being used unusably damaged. There is no way for you to get that suit off of a soldier without tearing it or putting holes on it. You just can't. So it can't be taken. And hypothetically, even if you could, you're getting 30 pounds of napalm dropped on your head and shot, so there's gonna be holes in the suit. Best case scenario, and you still die. And at that, you're like, okay, well, if it's not real, then how would it affect my Deepwoken character? Stupid, really dumb argument, but the US could just learn Deepwoken's basic alchemy and make mind breakers. And you better not say that's unrealistic, because it really isn't, because one of the US's primary reconnaissance procedures is learning about the environment they're in and what it harbors. It is very likely that the scientists of the US Army would just, find mind breaker mushrooms, or the mushrooms used for it, the blue caps, and then they'd probably end up experimenting with them and finding out what they do. Now, another argument I saw was Kamui. More specifically, someone said, I'll use Kamui to assassinate generals, and then they'll have no leaders. First of all, do you really think that without a general, all 3 million of the soldiers who are focused on killing you would just drop the objective of the fight? They're not robots. Just because you kill a general, or even all of them, doesn't mean the directive changes. And even if it did, there are hundreds of thousands of people in a chain of command. Realistically, they cut off your food and water supplies, and best case scenario, you're stuck in Kamui and you either starve to death, go insane, or have an ultimate stalemate. And yes, you would go insane, because Kamui in lore isn't technically grounded in reality, being like kind of intermissionary void sea, and it's supposed to cause insanity in users after years of time spent there. So realistically, you just kill yourself in the Kamui dimension. And worst case, they can just throw gas canisters and follow you in the Kamui and create a range of safety in themselves for, you just making a gas field that you can't be in. And worst case, the soldiers could just jump out and try again. And then someone else said, Akira solos an entire battalion by looking at them. Not even close. Akira's bell is based off of mental fortitude and willpower. If his mind and soul are more powerful than yours, he can kill you with minimal downsides and without killing himself. But even the smallest kills take maybe seconds or little bits of life force away from him. Now, mental fortitude and willpower are two of the things soldiers are trained for extensively. So realistically, Akira's bell wouldn't even be able to kill a massive amount of soldiers. And even if it could, killing 3 million people, which he couldn't do, would kill him anyway, ending in a stalemate. Right, because his corrupted bell downside just takes from his life force. He just couldn't do that. That wouldn't work. Not in this reality, not in any other reality. And then someone had the audacity to say, oh, but the US couldn't kill Primadon. Do you really think that? Do you really think the US can't kill a big gorilla? Like, are we serious right now? You think the US Army, with all their resources, couldn't kill a big gorilla? You know Primadon is based on King Kong, right? The movies where the humans always win against the big gorilla? I don't even need to comment on this. If you want to see the US versus Primadon, go watch any King Kong movie. The oldest one's like almost 80 years old or 90 years old at this point. Now, as for stuff like invisibility, people are like, oh, I'll use the murmur that makes you invisible. I think it's tempo or rhythm or whatever. The US has, as for stuff like invisibility with the murmur tacit that makes you invisible, someone's like, oh, I'll just use tacit and then they can't find me. Do you really think that? The US has thermal sights, thermal cameras, infrared sights. They could scan you with radio waves. Your invisibility really doesn't mean a thing here. Now, when I did mention the Heart of Enmity losing to Thermite, so many people just don't know how Thermite works or what it is and still commented on it. Thermite is made with 3 parts of iron 3 oxide dust and 1 part aluminum dust. You could also mix it up in the ratios to make stronger or more diluted mixes, right? Then you take that, mix it up in a plastic bag or in a more controlled sort of container, stick it and light it on fire. This is for educational purposes. Anyway, thermite is hot enough to burn and melt underwater easily, burning thousands of degrees hot and being used to cut through metal. It can make fire underwater. They could slap thermite paste on the Heart of Enmity's ankles and melt it down and he falls like a big truck. Anyway, someone said, the Heart of Enmity would just wipe it off. Are you fucking serious? He can't. Thermite bonds to whatever it sticks to. And even if it didn't, how would he wipe it off? Please tell me. He's gonna wipe it off before they can ignite it? Before they can ignite it in seconds using potassium? Which, by the way, they don't even need to ignite it. They could just mix it with potassium, which ignites underwater, and it burns a hole in his ankles. Okay? He's not just gonna wipe it off. That's not how that works. That is just not how that works. He can't just wipe it off. Stop commenting. And then people keep talking about how I was scaling to gameplay and not lore. In lore, health bars don't exist. Imagine every time you do damage to a humanoid NPC. When their health bar goes down, they're not literally taking damage in most cases. It's more like the stamina they have to keep on fighting. If I shoot Duke Aricia in the head, he is dead. He is a human. But when you shoot him in game, it's the equivalent of, I don't know, him taking a minor wound or him dodging it and getting a little bit tired, with the health bar being there for gameplay reasons and a representation of his ability to keep on fighting. Realistically, SEAL Team 6 is putting Duke Aricia down before he can do his little monologue. dialogue. And then people are saying, oh, but they don't just come back up from the depths. That doesn't make him any more of a threat, and even if it did, the US could establish depths bases with the help of the capitalistic Ignition Union, who would be dying for a partnership with US technology. Okay? And if you just watch the last 2 videos to know more about that. And then we have the Meat Lord. And yeah, he's powerful enough to wipe out the US Army solo. He's the only person who could, actually, but he's impartial and would most likely use the influx of 3 million people to sell food and meat, which is his passion. So realistically, he's gonna see the US Army and just sell them food, being a large and neutral asset for them. And worst case, the US Army could make a big toxic smoke field and perpetually renew it, killing literally everything. You can't beat the US, Deepwoken's verse can't beat the US, the United States solos easily. If you disagree, you're wrong. I will not be making another video on this. You can't convince me otherwise, and disagreeing is crazy cope. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed. Shoutouts to Green, Brick, Pickle, High Card, Goobka, and Drizzy Drake Fan. I love you all. Have an amazing day. Come watch me on Twitch and watch my second live channel. And goodbye.